Today we're going to be using these laws of indices here. So if you can't remember them all, do feel free to take a couple of minutes to pause the video and just copy out the laws of indices. So you've got a to the m times a to the n equals a to the m plus n. Dividing, you've got a to the m minus n. A to the m to the n is a to the m times n. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. Anything to the minus n is 1 over a to the n. Or if you've got a fraction to the power of minus n, you flip the fraction to remove the negative sign. Anything to the a to the m over n is the same as doing the nth root first and then the m power. Or you could do the m power first and then do the nth root second. So either way, it doesn't matter. Now, this first question we're going to take, it should take you about 2 minutes to do it. So you could pause the video now and then just set yourself a time for 2 minutes, have a go at the questions. I suggest on all the questions you have a go at the questions first before listening to my go through. If you really have no clue, watch the video through, pause it, go back to the questions and then just do them again without looking at the answers or the video, just to see if you can remember what was taught. Anyway, first question, here we go. We're going to multiply the numbers together, so we get 2 times 4, and we're going to multiply the algebra bits together, the p's. So we've got p squared times p to the 5. Now 2 times 4 is equal to 8, and we just add the indices here to get p to the 7. Here, divide the two numbers, so 12 over 2. Divide the n parts, n over 7, n squared, equals 6n to the 5. Scrolling down, what we got here is we have y cubed to the power of 4, so you're going to times these together, so we get y to the 3 times 4, which is equal to y to the 12. Keep going, and we're now going to divide the number. Well, we're going to do this power first, so we better do the 2 cubed and b cubed, so cube that all out. Dividing by 4b squared. Now we know these are going to cancel by b cubed divided by b squared will give us just b. Or you might think of it as subtracting the indices, and you do 3 minus 2 is 1, b to the 1 is also b. 2 cubed is 8, divided by 4 is 2. So we're going to get 2. Remember the b's cancel to just leave us b. And I think 2 more of this type. Right, we're going to cube this one all out. So we're going to get 5 cubed, because you've got to do this cube first before we divide by that. And then we're going to get r cubed, and then we've got s squared cubed, which is going to be times in the indices. So you get s to the 6. And we're dividing all of that by 10 squared, r squared, s squared. So 5 cubed is 125 divided by 100. Well, let's just write that 125 over 100 for now. And we're going to get r cubed divided by r squared is r, and we're going to get s to the 6 divided by s is s to the 4, subtracting the indices, or cancelling out the s's if you can do it GCSE style. Let's cancel this down. 25 goes into the top 5, and it goes into the bottom 4. It's quite a good idea that you practice cancelling these things down in your head without resorting to a calculator straight away. It will make it easier for you to spot things like factorizations later. Now, we've got 3. Let's just take the 3 and the 5th out because there's no powers to be done. So you've got 3 divided by 1/5 is the number bit. And then we've got 4 p to 4 divided by p, which is just p cubed, taking away the indices. Q cubed divided by q squared, take away the indices, just leaves you q to the 1, which is just q. Now, if we divide by 1/5, we turn that upside down multiply, which is the same as 3 times 5. So this will equal 15 p cubed q all on its own. Right, just going to scroll through these. You can see them all before me going through them. So you can pause the video after or any stage when you want to just go through them and have a go at the questions. So you can see all the questions we're going to do in this section. You are doing these without a calculator. Right, so going back to the top, let's have a look at these. Without a calculator, we're going to evaluate these. So you're going to learn how to just do these in your head. And it's really quite important that you make sure your mental arithmetic is up to the standard, so it helps you, as I said before, spot patterns, spot factorizations you can do later on, or tricks you can do to simplify the problem. Anyway, this is just the same as when you got the minus. Remember, it's got 1 over it, so it's just 1 over 3 squared, which equals 1/9. I'm not a big fan of doing equal signs on the same line. I didn't leave myself enough space. Now this is a nice easy one. Anything to the power of 0 is always 1. That's the rule we've got to learn there. Here, remember what I said about the minus? Just put 1 over it. So we're just going to put 1 over minus 2 to the 6. So we've got minus 1 over minus 2 to the 6. So you've got 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. So it's 1 over 64. And we know it's going to be positive because every time you've got an even power, you got two minuses times together. And they cancel to give you a plus. So we don't need to worry about the minus. If it's an odd power, you would have a minus. So 1 over 64 is our answer here. This one, my general rule of thumb is work with top-heavy fractions. So we're going to make this equal to 3 over 2 to the minus 2. The minus means you turn it upside down. So let's turn it upside down. And we got that to the 2. Square the top gives you 4. Square the bottom gives you 9. Because effectively you have 2/3 times 2/3. So 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. And that's how you do that one. Moving on. 1 over 49 to the half. That's square rooting it. And if you square root a fraction, you square root the top and you square root the bottom. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 49 is 7. And do the same here. Square root the top. Square root the bottom. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of the bottom of 9 is 3. Right, on this one, we're going to do minus. So we're going to flip the fraction, 32, to get rid of the minus. So that's 32 over 1 to the 1/5, which means we do the 5th root of the top and 5th root of the bottom. Well, 1 to the power of anything is 1, so we're going to ignore that. And dividing by 1 doesn't change anything. So the 5th root of 32, you should know that 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, that's 5. So therefore it must be 2. That's raised to the power of 5 to get 32. Now we've got here 3 times 8 is 24. Remember what I said about turning these into top-heavy fractions? So we get 27 over 8 to the minus 1/3. Flip it to get rid of the minus. So we get 8 over 27. And 1/3 means cube root. And we're going to cube root both the top. So the cube root of the top is 2. And we're going to cube the root of the bottom to get 3. Right, just going to once again scroll through these questions to see, so you can see them before and pause and do each one. You should be giving yourself 3 minutes to do all these questions. Okay, so 3 minutes to go through these questions. Pause the video. I'm going to go through them in a second. So here we go, back to the questions. Remember doing them all without a calculator. So we're going to do 4 to the half is 2, 27 to the 1/3 is 3. Okay, you should know 3 times 1/3 means cube root, half means square root. So you've got 2 times 2, 3 times 2 times 3 is 27. So it's 2 times 3. So that gives you 6 as your answer. Remember, we're going to do 1 over to get rid of the minus. So it's equal to 1 over 8 to the 1/3. We're going to divide by 36 to the half. Well, that's the square root of 36. Half means square root. So let's divide by 6. This means cube root. Cube root 1 gives you 1. Cube root 8 gives you 2. And we divide that by 6. You can think of it as 2 ways. If you divide anything by 6, you put it on the bottom. Or you can times it by 1 over 6, which also gives you 1/12. Okay, so looking at this one, what we've got minus 64 to the 1/3. So let's just think about 64 to the 1/3. And that's cube root of 64. So what cubed gives me 64? Well, that's 4. But what cubed gives me minus 64? Well, that's minus 4. So therefore, the cube root of minus 64 is minus 4. And we've got to times that by 9 to the 3 over 2. Well, let's do the 2 bit. The 2 bit at the bottom means square root because it's on the bottom of the fraction. So 9 square root is 3. So we've got times 3 cubed. And 3 cubed is 27. So you've got minus 4 times 27. And therefore, that's minus 4 times 25 is minus 100. We've got another 2 times 4. So that gives me minus 108. Let's see what we've got here. So we've got 1/25 to the half. So square root the 1's 1. Square root of 25 is 5. So that's 1 over 5. Minus 2. Let's do the flip. To get rid of the minus, and we're going to square that. So we're going to get 4 squared is 16. 16 times 1 is 16. 1 squared is 1 times 5 gives you 16 over 5. And it's perfectly okay to leave in top-heavy fractions. Now I know you have your calculators available to you to do all of this, but it really is important that you can do these things in your head. You should be able to, being A-level mathematicians. So we're going to now flip this one, cube root, to get rid of the minus, and we'll flip that one to get rid of the minus. So this means cube root. Cube root of 27 is 3. Cube root of 1 is 1. Square root first, do the 2, the square root, and the 3 is the cube. So square root first gives you 3. Square root of that is 2, and we've still got to cube them. So 3 cubed is 27, times by 3 is 81. 2 cubed is 8, times by 1 is 8. And our last one of these, well, we're going to put these into fractions in a second. So let's put do the minus as well at the same time. So that means 1 over 16. 0.25 means to the quarter, times, now this is 243, that's the same as 2/5. And if you're doing this, then you should realise that 3, 9, 27, 81, and it goes to 243 for the fifth one. So that fifth root of that is 3 squared gives you 9. So let's put the 9 there. And we're going to do this to the quarter. So 1 to the quarter is 1. 16 to the quarter is the fourth root. 2, 4, 6, 8, 16. No, 2, 4, 8, 16. Sorry, put a 16 now, just doubling. You can see that it's going to be 2. So half times 9, 9 over 2, or 4.5, or 4.5. Any of those will do. Okay, so on these ones, you should be able to do them in 4 minutes. Okay, I will scroll through so you can see them all if you want to do them all before I do them. So that's quite good. And then see if you can pull them all off in 4. And obviously pause the video on each one as you go through. And there we go. That's how many you've got to try and do in 4 minutes. Alternatively, you could just pause it after each time I finish one and do the next one. But that won't give you the 4-minute timer. But it will tell you whether you're fast enough. And it's quite important to get your speed up because that will give you more time in the exam. So anyway, without further ado, here's the first one. We're going to add the indices of this. So that's going to be 8 plus minus 6, which is going to give us x squared. Here we do the 6 divided by 2, and we do the p cubed divided by p to the 7. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. Subtract the indices, we're going to get p to the minus 4. Alternatively, you could have it written as 3 over p to the 4 if you want, if you don't like the minus sign. Either of these answers will be perfectly okay. So we got 2x minus 4 to the 3, so that means we've got to cube everything first. So we've got 2 cubed, and then we've got x to the minus 4 to the 3. 2 cubed is 8. To the x to the minus 4 to the 3 means you multiply the indices here. So you're going to get x to the minus 12. And again, you could write that as 8 over x. Either of these would be okay. Y cubed times y to the minus half. We're going to add the indices here. So we're just going to get y to the 5 over 2, or 2.5, or 2.5. It doesn't matter which you pick. Right, on this one, we're going to times. So we've got 2 times 4. Multiply the numbers together. And then we've got the b, 2/3 plus 1/4. Remember, we add the indices. And so therefore, what we're going to need to do is we're going to get 8. And we need to put these over the same denominator. So they're both going to be in 12ths. So times sum on this by 4, you get 8 12ths plus 3 12ths. So therefore you're going to get 8b to the 11 12ths. Okay, moving on to these ones. So we're going to subtract these indices. So you're going to get x to the 3/5 minus 1/3. So let's put this both over 15ths. So times sum by 5, by 3 even, that gives you 9. Times sum by 5 minus 5, so that gives you x to the 4/15. On this one, divide the numbers, 4 divided by 12, and then we've got t to 3 over 2, and then we're going to divide, we must subtract the indices, so it's minus 1/2. So this is just equal to 1/3. And if you subtract a half from 1.5, obviously you get 1. So t to the 1 is just t. So we've got b to the 2 minus a quarter plus a half. And you should be able to do all of that in your head nicely. That's how 2.5 minus a quarter gives you 2.25, or you could do it as 9/4 or 2.25. All three answers would be okay. So we've got 4 times 3 divided by 6, and then we've got x to the 2/3. Add the indices, so you're going to get plus minus 1/6, and then we subtract the indice here, minus 3/4. So that's 12 divided by 6 is 2. Let's put these all over 12. That's the common denominator. Times top and bottom by 4, so you get 8. We're going to get times top and bottom of this by 2, so you get minus 2. And times top and bottom of this by 3, that will give you minus 9. So we get minus 11. 8 minus 11 is minus 3. So it's minus 3 over 12, which is minus 1/4. So it's 2x to the minus a quarter. You could, these are all equivalent. So 2 to the x over a quarter and is equal to 2 to the 4th root of x. I don't see any difference between any of those. Those are all equivalent in terms of simplification. Right, on this one, we've got 2 over 8, and we've got a times a to the it's a to the 1 times a to the 3/4 plus 3/4. Subtract minus a half, so you end up with a plus. So you get 1 plus a half plus 3/4. So that will give you 2.25, and we've got a quarter out the front for that. So just check our answer here. Yep, that's all okay. Right, these three to solve should be very easy. You should be able to knock them off in about a minute, all three. Okay, you can pause the video while I go through it, so you can complete it. I'm going to do them now. So we're going to square both sides, so you get x, because that's the square root of x, undo that, so that's 36. Nice and easy. And we've got a minus power, so let's undo the minus power first. So if we undo the minus power, that means we need to flip this fraction, which just gives us 3. And therefore we've got x, that's the 4th root of x, so if we raise that to the power of 4, that will just give us x. Raise this to the power of 4, 3, 9, 27, 81. There we go. And then our last one, let's just scroll down to give myself a bit more space. So remember what I said, well, it doesn't really matter on this one. In this one, I know I said always do the bottom bit first, but in undoing, we want to undo the top bit first. So we're going to do the 4th root of 81, which is 3. So x, the cube root of x, this is equal to 3. Cube both sides, you get x equals 27. Right, if you're not quite sure what this means, just watch me do the first one before going through them. I'll just scroll through all of them so you can pause at any stage. These should take you, I think it's between 2 and 3 minutes. No, it's 1 to 2 minutes to do these. Okay, so 1 to 2 minutes to do all these three. If you're not sure what it means by express each function in the form of y, in the form y, 3 to the y, where y is a function of x, that means we want 3 to the power of something. So what we do is we try and think what this is as a power of 3. So 9 is 3 squared, and we got to the power of x, and then we multiply the indices to get 3 to 2x, and now that is where y is a function of x. Our function is 2x. Okay, so that's how we're doing it. So you may pause now if you weren't quite sure of what you got to do with the rest. So remember, 2 minutes maximum to do all of these. 27 is just 3 cubed to the power of x over 4. Multiply the indices again, and we get 3 to the 3x over 4. 1/3 as a power of 3 is 3 to the minus 1 to the power of x. Therefore, we get 3 times the indices together again. We get 3 to the minus x. 9 is 3 squared to the power of 2x minus 1. Multiply those indices. 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times minus 1 is minus 2. And there we go. Sort of came out by surprise, that one. And on our last one here, 1 over 27. 27 is 3 cubed. So that, if it's 1 over it, that's going to be 3 to the minus 3 times x plus 2, multiply those two things together. So we get 3 minus 3x minus 6. Okay, these ones, so we're getting into some equations now, and these are going to take you about 4 minutes to do these all if you know what you're doing. So let's scroll through them again so you can see them before I go through them. And if you can do them all in the 4 minutes, then you're doing very well indeed. Okay, let's go back to the first one. So for the first one, what we're going to do is we're going to look for what power you can put both sides in is your first port of call on these ones. So these can be both written as powers of 2. So the left hand side is already as a power of 2, so that makes life really easy. And then the right hand side is just 2 to the 2 to the x. So we get 2 to the x plus 3 equals 2 to the 2x. Now what we can see is we've got 2 to the something equals 2 to the something. So the two somethings must be equal. So x plus 3 must equal 2x. And if we subtract x from both sides, we can see that x is equal to 3. So here we go. On this one, we're going to write this in powers of 3. So 9 is 3 squared to the power of 2x equals 3 to the x minus 3. So we get 3 to the 4x equals 3 to the x minus 3. So we've got 3 to the something equals 3 to the something. So the two somethings must be equal. So 4x equals x minus 3. So 3x equals minus 3. So x equals minus 1. Okay, moving on to this one. We've got 8 as a power of 2, and 16 could be a power of 2. So we go 2 cubed to the power of x equals 2 to the 4 to the 2x minus 1. And a common mistake will be to forget to times everything by 4 here. So we get 3x, 2 to the 3x equals 2 to the 8x minus 4, because we've got to multiply both things. So 2 to the something equals 2 to the something, so those somethings must be equal. So 3x must equal 8x minus 4. Let's take 3x from both sides and put the 4 on the other side. So effectively we have 5x equals 4. If you take 3x from 8x is 5x. Take the 4 out of the side. Well, it doesn't really matter which side we put them on as long as they're still equal. And x will equal 4 over 5. Right, so this is all going to be powers of 3s where we're going to go for. 1/3 as a power of 3 is 3 to the minus 1. So 3 to the minus 1 to the power of x equals 3 to the x minus 4. Times those together, so you get 3 to the minus x equals 3x minus 4. Again, let's highlight the 3 to the something equals 3 to the something. So we get minus x equals x minus 4. So therefore 2x will equal 4. Scroll down, give myself a bit more space. Oops. And then we get x equals 2 to the x. So these are all both again could be powers of 2. Quarter is a half squared, so that's, and a half is 2 to the minus 1, so it's going to be 2 to the minus 2 for a quarter. If you're not quite sure how I got that, that's 1 over 2 squared. Remember, 1 over anything gives you 2 to the minus 2. And we've got x plus 1 here, and we've got 2 to the 3 to the x, because 8 is 2 cubed. Multiply out these, because we multiply these indices out when you've got power of a power, minus 2 equals 2 to the 3x. So therefore we got 2 to the something equals 2 to the something. So we get minus 2x minus 2 equals 3x. So what do we get here? We're going to get minus 2 equals 5x. So x will equal minus 2/5. Okay, just scroll through these questions so you can pause when you've each one and do them before I start. If you're trying to do all of these, you should be able to get them in somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes. 3 minutes is a maximum you should be taking if you know your stuff on these questions. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those to do in 3 minutes maximum. Okay, so you can pause my video at each stage and then do those questions. So let's get on into working out the solutions. You've got these algebraic fractions. And a common mistake is just to randomly cancel all sorts of things left, right and centre without really thinking. And actually you've got to divide each thing out. And this is really important for when you come on to differentiation and integration. So we're going to simplify this. We're going to do 4 over t to the 5 is going to be divided by 2t squared. Minus 6t to the cubed is also divided by 2t squared. So 4 divided by 2, that's easy. Take away the indices, t cubed. Take away the indices, 6 divided by 2 is minus 3. Take away the indices gives me t. You can factorise it. Does it make it any simpler? Not really. So we've got x to the 3 over 2, x to the half minus minus 3x over x to the half. Now remember what you do with these. You subtract the indices. So this is just going to give me x to the 1. Because you've got 3 over 2 minus a half is 1, and we don't bother putting the 1. And we subtract the indices here, so we're basically going to get x to the 1 minus x to the half. So 1 minus a half gives me just a half. So I'm going to give myself 3x to the half. So I'm just going to write that out so as you can see it in action. You just do, that's a 1, that's a half, take them away, gives you a half. Right, moving on to our last two, and the last one I'm sure is bound to trip a few people up. So what we're going to do is probably multiply out the brackets first. So we add the indices, gives me y to the 5 minus 6y squared. Divide by 3y, divide by 3y, because you've got to divide both bits by 3y. This gives me 1/3 of y to the 4. And this gives me 2y. Take away the indices, 2 minus 1 is 1. Take away the indices, 5 minus 1 is 4. And you effectively got 1 over 3 to get the 1/3. And a common mistake is somehow to get a 3 on the top of this as well. Right, in this one, what I'm going to do is factorise both the top and the bottom because it doesn't seem to be simplifying very nicely. So if I factorise the top completely, let's take out 2t on the top, and I'm left with t squared minus 2. Take out t to the minus a half now. This is the trick. How many of you spotted it? And that will leave me a t squared. And if I think about it, I'm dividing, so take away the indices, therefore minus a half minus minus a half gives me 0. So I'm just left with a minus 2 there. Let me just show you that. If we do t to the minus a half, and we're dividing by t to the minus a half, because that's what you do when you take a factor out, you're dividing. So therefore that's going to give me t to the minus half minus minus a half because you take away the indices. And obviously plus a half minus half is 0. T to the 0 is 1. But we've got it times by the 2. So therefore we get the minus 2. And therefore you can see we just can cancel out this and this. So all we've got left to do is simplify this bit here. So you've got t to the 1 divided by t to the minus a half. Take away the indices. So it's equal to 2. T to the 1 minus minus a half. So that's equal to 2t to the 3 over 2. Hopefully that will have been useful, a good warm-up to what's to come. And if you were struggling with those, do feel free to run through the lesson again in a few days' time to make sure you've got that really sorted and really make sure you can do those questions in the time limits that I gave you, because that will ultimately help you in the long run when it comes to your problem solving.